And as I said before, we have innovation in retail as our next panel. And we have very interesting speakers joining this one because we have Christina Peters here, we have Martin Damm here, and we have Lisa. Now I'm back again. I hope you still did hear me announcing the panel. So we have Victor taking over for this panel, and I'm very happy to give it over to him. I see him prepared and happy and well in Hamburg. I hope you're all set and our speakers are here. Let's jump into our panel and enjoy this one, innovation in retail. Victor, I'm heading over to you.
All right, thank you, Hannah. Just give us a quick second, because I don't think that all the speakers are co-hosts yet, and that we can hear all the speakers. Our tech team will take care of that in a minute.
Yes, Martin is starting his computer new, as I understood.
Oh God, yeah, that are the normal tech problems we need to take care of. But I will then just go ahead and tell the audience a bit about what our panel is about today. So today we are going to talk about innovation in retail. Retail is a topic that kind of we all get in touch with. We all buy things on Amazon or in a small store, and we're going to talk about the innovation in retail today, like what kind of disruptions we had in the last couple of years in retail, and what kind of disruptions might come also in the not in the last years, what kind of disruptions will come in the next years. But we're still waiting for Martin. I think if he starts his computer new, that will also take a couple minutes more. Or what do you think, Christina or Lisa?
Yeah, he's taking his iPad. So he said he's taking his iPad.
Okay,
Let's
then
check.
He will check in with his iPad.
I'm just going to take over.
Thank you, Hannah.
And I'm going to ask, since I have no clue, Christina, what do you do? And Lisa, what do you do? Let's hear you, and let's start a little bit about the discussion.
All right, so shall we have a quick introduction? All right, so yes, hi, I'm Christina. I'm Senior Manager at Accenture Consulting, and I've been working last 10 years in consulting already, almost. Working on digital strategies, commerce, connected retail, new retail business models, and also innovation. I've also lived in the UK, one of the key retail countries, and I've also traveled to the US and to China to show our clients firsthand what type of retail innovation is happening around the world and what that means for us. So yeah, I'd really like to say that I like to connect the dots and also the people to build more sustainable business in retail, and also consumer goods and mobility and other industries that are going direct to consumer now.
What's the hiccup? Lisa, what do you do?
Yeah, so hi everyone, and I'm Lisa. I'm a senior consultant within Accenture, and I'm part of the innovation team at Accenture, mostly focusing on retail and consumer industries. And what I do is I help retailers to define their innovation strategies and to scale them and operate them in a way that they generate a long-term value out of these innovations. And basically this concerns both the core business, so omni-channel or e-commerce, businesses have been a large part of my work in the last years, and also greenfield, new disruptive business innovation. So when it's about building a new startup or a completely new venture for the retailer or with the retailer. And yeah, in this space, there have been, for example, some exciting topics around data monetization strategies, loyalty strategy as a business model, and this kind of thing. Yeah, and prior to Accenture, actually 6 years ago, I had my own small startup in the grocery e-commerce space, you can say. So it was 2014, and we were producing green smoothies and vegan detox boxes and so on, and we were delivering them to customers in my area in Düsseldorf. And this is where I actually learned how challenging grocery e-commerce can be. So yeah, after 1 year, I gave up and decided to join the consulting space. And I was also, during my Accenture time, working for 1 year in the Innovation Center at Milan. In Accenture, we have a global, so to speak, innovation architecture with all those different kinds of vehicles and labs and centers. And it was a very exciting time because we had some startups, open innovation partners we were working with to really explore disruption, to explore innovation within the retail space, and also to show it with tangible use cases along holistic customer journeys, and to really design this future concept, future retail concept for fashion and consumer goods. Yeah, happy to be here.
So maybe since Victor are you back, Victor? Smart?
Yes, I'm back. I just sent Martin an email with the code where you can kind of dial in, but I'm not sure if he has read that yet. So I would say we will just start and then he joins in if that's fine for Christina and Lisa.
Okay, so Martin is there, so maybe
Martin is there?
Briefly introduce himself and then we'll take it from there.
He needs to be unmuted.
Hey, okay, now it works. I wasn't able to unmute, so sorry about that, the technical challenges.
Hi, Martin.
Good morning, good morning. I'm Martin, I'm a senior manager and experience architect at Accenture Interactive. And I've sort of collected over 20 years of experience, both in consulting and in management functions in some larger or smaller medium-sized enterprises like the Otto Group or VD or and so on. So mainly in retail and consumer goods. So I usually work as an experience architect at the intersection of strategy, technology, and transformation, with the three types of transformation in mind: digital, structural, and cultural. My colleagues and I at Accenture Interactive, we help companies to design, build, run, and communicate experiences. And we believe that experiences are there to make people's lives better and more productive. And we believe that we are pretty good in doing that. So.
All right. Thank you for the quick introduction, Martin. And we're happy that all the tech is working now, even after the little 10 minutes delay. So I think we have to cut the Q&A session at the end, but that should be no problem. So I would say, let's start with the first question. And my first question depends on consumer behavior, because we see trends that consumer behavior has changed over the last couple of years because of maybe big players like Amazon and co. So my question to you guys is, which trends, also maybe driven by COVID-19 right now, do you see as the most relevant trends? And I think I'll give to you, Martin. Now you're here, so I think you can start.
Yeah, thank you. I think Satya Nadella summarized it quite well when he said a few weeks ago, I mean, this is really a few weeks ago already, that the world is experiencing 2 years of digital transformation in 2 months. So I don't know if we now have experienced 3 years of digital transformation in 3 months, but what we've seen that, besides the transformation that retail has undergone over the past 2 decades, the pure necessity of having to change consumers on the consumer side and basically making use of online retail has given it an extreme boost. And as a result, what we've seen is that e-commerce sales have on average increased 40% as compared to pre-pandemic levels. And some categories really achieving triple-digit growth. And I don't only mean, sort of medical supplies or face masks, but others in the US, for instance, weapons, which is something I find very strange. But having said that, if you believe that this is sort of going back to pre-pandemic levels at some point, I really don't see that happening. It's there. People who have tasted the sweet juice of e-commerce, they will continue using it. Even my parents, that have sort of tried it for the first time, think like, wow, this works really well. So I want this. However, if you're looking at sort of e-commerce versus brick and mortar retail, I believe that it will take still some time for e-commerce sales to level with brick and mortar sales. I mean, we've seen a tremendous crash in brick and mortar sales in footfall, extremely unhealthy for brick and mortar retailers, and we will see some of them not only struggle but also probably having to give up. But what we've also seen, and that I think is the most interesting point, is that the ones that were better prepared, the omni-channel retailers that were better prepared than the others, will face a less trouble in sort of picking up. I mean, the ones with better prepared, I mean the ones that sort of had developed and launched services like click and collect, where you order online and you pick it up at the store without any crowd exposure. They, they're doing better than the others. And considering the current restrictions that you have in brick and mortar retail, like, the number of people being restricted that are allowed to enter shops, I really don't think that this is ever going to change back again, but how we might even see, new retail concepts coming from that, dark stores basically, that don't even allow people in. But we will see what happens in the next coming months when the rebound happens. And what we've also seen is that social distancing, has changed digitization, everything that comes with it. The new normal, the new default in many categories will be e-commerce, and it'll be a fast track for some innovations that we'll see, like conversational commerce, for instance, that sort of hasn't really taken off, but will probably take off very, very soon. There's already an ongoing race on who will own the interface beyond touch and type, right? And we'll see a lot of effort in this field, especially by the larger players in this market who invest significant amounts. And I mean, even though I haven't really shown that is the case, we've really been using a lot of chatting, video calls, and new technologies to interact. And I think that sort of I would call that Skypeification of sort of contacts within the business and private world will also translate into some concepts in the retail space. And it'll affect the way we want to trade things and stuff, and the way we want to interact with digital services, and having people on the other side, without having to go to stores, for instance. So I believe there's some room for innovation and customer experience there. And some peripheral industries have been affected. Like, I mean, how would you, in a Corona lockdown situation, how do you make photos of your products to sell them? How do you dress up a model and make a fashion shoot if you can't actually meet anywhere? So I think one of the things that we've seen is digital twins. So identical digital replica of products that behave and feel and look exactly like the actual product, whether the product exists or it doesn't exist yet. So imagine what you can do with that in creating digital experiences around a product, if you have that at your disposal. And we are seeing quite a lot of that. We're actually doing some of that for some of our clients. And and as I've already said, some thought will need to go into what we do with physical locations. I mean, what experience will you create in a physical location? From an immersive part of the customer journey, digital and physical, to something completely different, like a dark store where you order and pick up, or even only a dark store that serves as an interface to logistics to have immediate or same-day delivery. So those I'd say would be sort of the big trends that we will see emphasize and accelerate over the next couple of weeks and months.
Lisa, what's your opinion on the next big trends coming up?
So I think in terms of, so to speak, one trend which only continues to increase, I see relevance and personalization, which is a more specific type of relevance, but relevance in general is a huge trend which will not disappear and will only grow, because especially in those conditions which Martin also elaborated about, in the e-commerce space, we have unlimited amount of opportunities and product alternatives basically at our fingertips, right? And there is also Instagram, so a social network entering the e-commerce space. And we see a lot of impulse buys through Instagram because they are so good in inspiration right now. But I think that consumers are also tired of it, and tired of this flood of information, flood of promotions and products. And they want really to cut through this noise. So they long for relevant products presented to them in a context of, so to speak, Themenwelt or topic world or specific use case situation. And I think a very good retail example which is doing that is Nike. Nike was already very early on in the online fitness space with the Nike Training Club and Nike Run apps, I think 7 years ago or even longer. And right now, at least in Germany, it was last year where Nike launched actually an online shop within the Nike Run app. And I myself, I never buy at Nike.com anymore. I just shop in the app. And the benefit of it for the retailer is that they exactly know what is my use case. So they are able to provide me relevant and smart recommendations. Because if you look into Amazon on the marketplace, they are showing me one product if I bought it one time, but I still continue to see it for the next 2 months. So this is not personalized smart recommendations, from my opinion. And a good example in Germany is, of course, Westwing in the online home and living space, because they really innovate with this content commerce approach, right? And they achieve incredibly high retention numbers, incredibly high loyalty numbers, and also low marketing costs because they bet on content and commerce. And yeah, a second trend I really like, because I'm actually a health soul myself, and because we are talking post-COVID, the health and well-being trend. Because of course it's an old shoe, I know, but I think it became a completely new meaning after the pandemic. People start to invest more time and money into health and well-being services. We see the boom within the online fitness space, so a lot of live fitness courses. If you think of this Peloton revolution, so to speak, the Peloton bike, and they really are very good in combining live courses with the community. So you also have a group training together with you. And people start, of course, also in Germany, my colleagues, to buy Peloton bikes because they don't want to go to a fitness club or they want to save time. And yeah, I think also with this mental health trend, we see a spike in downloads for apps like Headspace. And last but not least, there is a kind of a cocooning trend going around. So people invest in their homes. Home and living space is booming, sales in e-commerce, but also people start to really organize things which they would go and do outside, like parties or having a bar night or something. They start to do it at home. So yeah, people do hashtag stay at home and hashtag staycation activities. And this is a huge trend which I see will grow in the next couple of years. We also see this with Airbnb, because Airbnb actually is suffering a lot from this pandemic, and they're now pivoting to this local travel and local experiences kind of thing. So they are doing a lot of creative innovations and new services in this space as well.
You just talked about localism, and another thing I personally see is also sustainability, like that the products I buy are kind of sustainable. There's one trend as an example, which is I think called slow fashion when we talk about retail. And maybe Christina, you can say something about that trend.
Yes, of course. Yeah. So in my opinion, one of the most relevant trends for retailers to watch really is sustainability. And with the Fridays for Future movement, with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, that really a lot of businesses are now working towards, and using those to structure their efforts as well. Also the Green New Deal for Europe, so Europe's growth strategy. So I really feel that consumers, businesses, and politics alike are all now becoming way more serious about the transformation towards a more sustainable economy. And I am personally convinced that we will all consume less in the future. For two reasons. So environmental, yes, but also socio-economical. So meaning that after COVID-19, some people will most probably just not have the means or will have less. And also younger people increasingly live in urban areas with smaller homes, less space, less stuff. And also decluttering has become part of the popular culture. So hence we can make less is more sexy and embrace the change, or we can complain about it. So I think COVID-19 has in a very short period of time shown that we are capable of changing our habits to a certain extent. And recent studies from Accenture, but also Kantar and others, highlight that consumers are shopping more consciously and efficiently, with greater awareness to the environment, but also health, as Lisa mentioned, and costs. And for retailers, this means not just selling more stuff, but being more helpful and working really on new and more sustainable business models to help keep resources in use on the one hand, customers happy, and also retailers in business. So some of their initiatives that we can already see as consumers as well are around sustainable and less packaging, less waste, more transparent product information to drive better choices, more sustainable and local products and supply chains to reduce the impact of environmental pollution from production or agriculture, and also emissions from stores and transport. And if we take grocery retail, for example, and I'll come to fashion later on as well, but if we take grocery, we see concepts like zero waste supermarket. We also see Loop that's coming to Germany soon. It's one example where they're working with consumer goods brands to offer refillable products for things like cleaning products or cosmetics that originally really created a lot of packaging. We see new food labeling, making it easier for consumers with, for example, the Nutri-Score that offers a simple traffic light system. And we also see, for example, outdoor fashion brand Patagonia, which is always a great example, now offering a food platform called Patagonia Provisions. And they are not just selling organic produce, but they are selling products from regenerative agriculture, which is really the way to go and to really keep soils healthy and sustainable. And their founder, when asked why he was venturing from fashion into food, he was saying he realized now more than ever that the prerequisites of a thriving business and also people were one and the same. So he called it triple bottom line, but not in a sustainability definition, but he was saying triple bottom line in terms of food, water, and love is what we need. So with this in mind, without being too tacky, another key trend that we see is localism. So more broadly speaking, also shift from me to we culture, and that we've seen during COVID-19 as well, supporting consumer supporting consumers, but also consumer supporting businesses. And yeah, a surge of localism around the world, really with 2/3 of consumers now stating they're preferring to buy goods and services from their own countries. And I hope that this is, well, hopefully not a trend driven by fear, but more by the realization of how everything is interconnected and how we need to support each other to create a positive change and really leave no one behind. And in retail, we've seen companies partnering, for example, such as McDonald's lending their employees to Aldi to keep the supermarket aisle stocked. And we've also seen smaller and larger platforms emerge to support local business with the likes, for example, Shopify, Shop Plus, and or Shop Local, or Pay Now, Eat Later. I think we've all seen that in Hamburg. So these are just a couple of examples of, or a couple of trends that we feel are really relevant for our discussion today.
Yeah, so we've talked about all the trends we see in the retail market. And as I think we all have realized now, the retail market has changed significantly over the last couple of years and will probably also change significantly, maybe due to COVID-19. Because we don't have as much time left as planned because of the technical issues at the beginning. Please keep your answers a bit shorter than we planned. And let's go to the next question. So like I just said, we see significant changes in the retail market, but how does the future retail business model look like? Like, how do people still make money, as an example, if consumers consume less? Martin.
Well, yeah, I don't think that consumers necessarily will consume less. They will probably be more conscious in the way they consume, you know, more local, as Christina said, and more conscious with regards to sustainability. However, I think what will change significantly, you know, if we take the business side of things for once, we in the transactional commerce space, we have seen a concentration on a few select channels, especially the GAFA channel. They dominate the traffic and they dominate, the orders and the generation of orders for e-commerce. And what businesses or brands will have to understand is how they actually manage that channel, the sort of manage that that situation where only a very few number of channels basically concentrate the orders. I mean, the biggest or best example of that is Amazon. They are so dominant. There's probably no way around them. But on the other hand, as a brand selling wholesale, you need to protect the retailers that you also serve. And probably one of the big assets in that game is sort of exclusivity, trying to find exclusive access to products, to brands, to specific target groups in order to serve them with something that they can't get otherwise. That's one of the things. And the other thing is probably, just an example. Look at Lisa cited Nike as an example. Look at a sneaker of Nike on Amazon, and then look at the same product on Nike.com. The difference is striking. The brand of Nike does not happen on Amazon. It does happen in their own, customer journey, in their own controlled environment. And I think brands will need to understand how they actually make the experience or the brand happen on these sort of type of marketplace environments. I think that's really important. And they don't do it enough. And I think there's much more room to sort of improve that on that side. For me, that would be one of the major changes that are to be expected in e-commerce and retail going forward. Yep.
Yeah, this is actually regarding e-commerce, right? But as I think we should also talk about the omni-channel advantage, right? Because Martin, as you mentioned, brick and mortar retailers still can leverage stores as an asset for certain things like click and collect, right? And dark stores for fulfillment use cases, for example. And basically, I myself, having the passion for retail, I still truly believe that the physical channel will remain relevant and can be a differentiator in the future. But retailers really need to honestly rethink the concept of retail with the customer in the center of it as a truly holistic and omni-channel approach. It's a huge buzzword, omni-channel, but what does it actually mean? If you think about customer needs, because we are talking about retail, and retail is all about the customers, or should be at least, they still they of course want convenience. We learned that. So Amazon is providing that in terms of quick one-click checkout, convenient delivery, and so on. So e-commerce can replace the store as a transactional channel, but customers also continue to long for rich and engaging experiences. And also recent studies show that especially young customers really like to go into the physical space, the physical shopping, and they love it since it's a socializing experience. So you can go out with friends and you can have this discovery and wow moment or magical moment when you fall in love with the product. And not to forget touch and feel experience, especially in fashion and furniture and other segments, is still very important. But what we really need to do is to think like a disruptor, basically. So what would I as a retailer do if I would need to kill my company tomorrow? So how would I approach this? Because I think this is not a technological problem in the first place, but it's more a mindset issue. So if you think about Glossier, the beauty startup from US, they started as an e-commerce business, basically first of all as a content blog and then e-commerce. And now Glossier is also launching physical pop-up stores. And customers spend up to 6 hours in a Glossier pop-up store because this store is not meant for buying products. This store is meant for trying beauty products on, feeling, smelling, so having this haptic experience, and also socializing, talking to Glossier employees, to the founder herself, talking to other customers. So you have this huge community feeling in the Glossier store, and it's just a nice place to be. So the store role is shifting to this kind of hub of socialization, hub of experience. And I mean, what does it mean in terms of the business model? You need to think in a completely new metrics and KPI framework as well as a retailer. So not to think in a store as another isolated sales channel and measure the foot traffic only or the sales profitability per meter, but you need to consider how is it affecting the whole concept and how is my store driving the sales in total. So if you think about another startup example, Showfields, in terms of experiential concept, they approach it in a completely different way. So they don't earn money per se with sales of a product, but they earn money with content and marketing services they provide to the brands. And of course, Amazon Go is a good example of an omnichannel concept where you use e-commerce as a vehicle, but where you have the benefit of a brick and mortar space as well.
So you would say we kind of have to combine like the real world experiences maybe with e-commerce and use both channels.
Yes, I think we have to use both channels, but we have to rethink the role of each channel and really think customer centric and not channel centric, you know.
Christina, what's your opinion on that?
Yes, I do agree on that. But I also think that retailers need to go beyond kind of extensions of their traditional model. We see additional more disruption coming from large retail players building entire ecosystems with different business models around their customers and partners. So we see that happening in the US and China, also now starting in Germany. And one Chinese example, I think that everyone knows by now, is Alibaba. They initially just linked buyers and sellers, so a traditional marketplace, but as the technology advanced, more and more of their business functions moved online, so advertising, social media influencers, marketing, logistics, finance, you name it. And they really started to reinvent the whole Chinese retail sector along the lines of B2B, C2C, B2C business models. So they've basically got it all. And just to name one of the new business models, there are plenty, is retail media. So monetizing the retailer's customer base and traffic with targeted advertising. And Alibaba's most recent push that I've seen in the news now has been towards live streaming based commerce. So they are currently recruiting global influencers to promote products that they are selling via AliExpress. So that is their cross-border e-commerce platform, so selling to German customers, for example. And since I've visited Alibaba the first time in 2015 in China, it's been impressive to see the level and speed of execution, really. And I'm curious to see how this initiative will work out. More disruption, or also maybe better market making, in my opinion, is expected to come from re-commerce, from sharing economy, from ultimately also the circular economy. So those circular initiatives usually work to three principles of, for one, designing out waste and pollution, two, keeping products and materials in use as long as possible, and thirdly, regenerating natural systems. And they provide opportunities for new revenue streams, less cost because they use less resources, efficiency in the supply chain, and also business intelligence, as they kind of need to have and will have a lot more data than the retailers currently have. And just to name kind of two examples, one of those would be, and here we come to fashion, would be ThredUp. So they are building the fashion online second-hand market, which is currently growing, so to their, they said 21 times faster than the retail apparel market over the past 3 years. So this is enormous. And what the business soon realized when they initially tested with customers and then also pivoted their business model was that they were in the logistics business. yeah, not in the retail business. So customers bag their unwanted clothes and send them off, and ThredUp takes care of the rest. So cleaning, dry cleaning, selling, posting those clothes and sending them off. So Walmart has now entered into partnership with ThredUp to sell previously owned clothing on walmart.com. So for them, expanding the offering for more environmentally conscious target groups such as millennials, and also extending the number of brands and products they're offering. And we really expect a lot more partnerships like these to emerge as retailers look for business potential elsewhere. And also one retailer to name that's having a very clear and bold circular strategy is Ikea. So by 2030, Ikea wants to be fully circular, giving products and materials a longer life through reuse, also refurbishment, repairs, remanufacturing, and the last option then is really recycling. Retailer, so Ikea is testing sharing and leasing business models, so product as a service, so to say, that would aim to increase the use of those products. And I find it really interesting because currently retailers are incentivized by their business model. Yeah, they receive money for every product sold, so they are not necessarily interested in making those products lasting long. We all know that. But tomorrow, in the circular economy, they'll receive money for the use of the product, or in this case, the furniture, meaning that they are interested now in making the product last longer. So these circular business models or products as a service models, and there are more circular business models behind that, I believe in the future also might be empowered by Internet of Things and connected devices. And if done well, I believe they should create real opportunity for businesses to better understand and build relationships with customers, and ultimately also achieve a significant lock-in effect, because if you're using something and you're happy and you're using it as a service, then chances are higher that that happens. With more insight and more data, you'll also be able to identify more opportunities for new products and business models.
So thank you for your great answer. I think I've learned a lot about retail in the last couple of minutes, and also about specific examples. We now sadly just have 2 minutes left because of the technical issues at the beginning, but I still have a last question. So maybe every one of you can answer that last question in like maximum 2 sentences. And my last question is, what are kind of the secrets to innovation and to disruption in retail now? What do retailers need to do now to change their business model and to disrupt and innovate? Please answer in 2 sentences.
Yeah, okay, Blitz answer. So basically, I think you need to lay the foundation as a retailer first. So innovation needs to become part of the strategy itself, and retailers need to consider the disruption pattern and to approach innovation with a portfolio concept. So if you think about Walmart, they have a twofold approach, and they have a portfolio investing both in sustaining innovations like omni-channel, but also experimenting with new disruptive innovation. And the second foundational layer is the operating model. So you need really to have an overarching metrics and KPI set, measuring different types of innovations in a different way. And you need to have different vehicles which enable to operate those, because an innovation lab is good for ideation, but to build a new startup, you need a company builder. And depending on your strategy, you need different vehicles.
All right, thank you. We sadly have under 60 seconds left, so please just one sentence from Martin and Christina.
All right, just one sentence. So yeah, in addition to what Lisa mentioned, I think there's some new competencies that retailers need to build up. So especially in the data space around data engineering, analytics, and AI, that we see some retailers already advancing, but more the US ones. And also a more flexible technical platform. So if you're wanting to pilot and develop new digital services and businesses, you can't wait for a couple of years. You really need to have that flexible platform, which is based on microservices and also cloud to enable that. So yeah.
Did you heard that sound? I think we are sadly over. It's 11:12. So sorry, Martin, sorry for the technical issues. The time is over. I think it was a really interesting panel. I learned a lot about innovation and retail, and thank you to all 3 that you attended today.
All right.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you
us.
for having us.
Have a good conference still.
Thank you. Now I give it to you, Hannah, back from Hamburg to Munich.
Very much. Thanks.